The Phoenix Suns sneak away from Orlando with a win, exceed last season's win total. How Deandre Ayton ponied up, answered the call, rebounded, played like a big man that he promised he would, and won the Suns this game. That's what we're talking about on today's Locked On Suns.
You are Locked On Suns, your daily Phoenix Suns podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We are back. This is Locked On Phoenix Suns. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, and I'm your host, Brendon Kleen, a contributor at Suns.com, as well as Dime Magazine, and a credentialed media member covering the Suns for the past 5 seasons. Thanks for making Locked On Suns your first listen each and every day. Thanks for finding us on YouTube. Subscribe and like. And for finding us on every single podcast platform. We are everywhere, and we are free. And the best way to keep us free is to continue to listen, follow along, and support the show. So a big thank you to everybody doing that, which is all of you who are already here. We got to get to this win now. 102-99, the Suns win. They made us grit our teeth a little bit, but nevertheless come out with a win. I want to start with Deandre Ayton, who is basically a 2020 guy tonight. Talk about Payne a little bit, Landry Shamet a little bit. But first, guys, today's show brought to you by PrizePicks. Check out PrizePicks.com. Use the promo code NBA or go to your app store and download the PrizePicks app today. PrizePicks, daily fantasy made easy. I talked a lot about Deandre Ayton's rebounding coming off of that Bucks game where I think he had 6, maybe 8. And he talked a lot about his rebounding coming off of that Bucks game as well. He admitted it wasn't good enough. Despite his, I think, 30 points, he needed to be better in that area because the Bucks out-rebounded the Suns by, I think, almost 20 the other night and had, I believe, 14 offensive rebounds. Serge Ibaka had 10. The list goes on. Ayton knew he needed to be better, and he was. And so he deserves a mountain of credit today for the Suns winning this game. 21 points, 19 rebounds, 4 on the offensive glass, 10 of 19 from the field, 36 minutes. He was huge. The Suns outscored Orlando by 14 points while he was out there. For reference, they were outscored, of course, then by 3 in the game in the minutes where JaVale McGee was out there. He also had 5 personal fouls and was a negative of really most of his time out there tonight. So I think it's safe to say without Ayton, the Suns do not win this game. Orlando made it very difficult on him, frankly. They actually do have size despite the weirdness of their roster overall. They start very big. Mo Bamba, who is 7+ feet tall at center. Wendell Carter Jr., who, in my opinion, is a center, is basically their starting 4. And then they have Mo Wagner, who, look, is not a bruiser by any means. He's more of a finesse big man, but he's 7 feet tall, basically, and got 7 rebounds of his own. So despite Orlando being a little bit, obviously, of a strangely assembled team and obviously a lottery team in terms of their record, they did pose some challenges in the interior. So for Ayton to make that happen anyway is really, really big. 52 rebounds for the Suns compared to 53 for the Magic. Orlando only had 8 offensive rebounds total, so basically half of what Milwaukee had the other night. And a big, kudos to Jay Crowder as well. I talked about on the Milwaukee game too, how it was not just Ayton. So 11 rebounds for Crowder, that matters. But with the size that the Magic brought, for Ayton to step up in the rebounding, handle that size on the interior, and be the same level of decisive and aggressive that he's been on offense with all of that other responsibility, with the, physicality he was having to match from those Orlando young guys, the rebounding focus that he obviously came into this game with, but to still score on top of all of that is also pretty big for him. So Suns only had 38 points in the paint, but Ayton has been very quick about releasing the hook shot, the jumper, the floater when he's not right at the basket. And then, of course, with a guy like Payne, who we're going to talk about later on, getting 12 assists, it's safe to say a lot of those came right to Ayton. Lobs, cuts, layups inside, putbacks, things like that. So very, very big performance from him, and the rebounding being able to be equal despite all of that is really huge. The last thing I wanted to hit on when it comes to Ayton, though, is actually the flip side of all of that, which is, look, I am the last person who would ever advocate for the type of feed it to DA stuff that I've seen Suns fans say online since the minute that they drafted him. I would even say I'm old enough to remember that the days in which U of A fans were screaming the same thing, and it's just never been the type of player that Deandre Ayton is. It's not the way that the Suns offense flows, and it's not the best path to winning games. In the post, isolation, stuff like that, dumping it into him and letting him, quote unquote, go to work, that's not going to work. But I say all of that, and I still believe that in this particular game and similar games like this, I don't get actually why the Suns do not run more of their offense through Bridges and through Ayton late in games. Now, again, Landry Shamet, who I do want to spend some time on today because he was very good. And of course, Cam Johnson, who scored 38 in his farewell act here. He is still out with that quad contusion. We've seen some games where late the Suns actually go to shots for those guys because they have the hot hand. We saw a shot on the right wing when the Suns still had a chance to stay in the game against Milwaukee that Shamet got, and he missed it on Sunday. We saw the Suns go to Cam Johnson on several late possessions against the Knicks the previous game. And then tonight, we saw a few different situations where there was one where Crowder set a screen for a corner three in the left corner for Shamet that missed. And I believe another one where Shamet, I want to say he dished it to Crowder for a three that missed late in the game as well. But you could tell the play was designed for Shamet to be the one to get a good shot. It was what I like to call an up screen, where the guy is running from the baseline toward the three-point arc, catches the ball, and then has an open shot with the big man setting a screen as part of that handoff. So you are seeing jump shots off the ball with a lot of orchestration being the go-to move for Monty Williams late in the game, not DeAndre Ayton or Mikal Bridges, which I get. Run with the guy who has the hot hand, especially without Paul, without Booker. I understand the logic there, but there's also a part of me that feels like Bridges, not so much in this game, but in past games, and Ayton for the past couple of games has been so good that it doesn't make sense, considering they are your best and theoretically most trustworthy players, to not go to them. Now, of course, Payne is going to be the guy initiating. There's going to be structure to everything that happens, but why not run, a Spain pick and roll or one of those types of, staggered screen types of plays, slow rolling plays that the Suns love with Bridges in that spot as a shooter? Isn't he more of a threat if he catches the ball and has to attack a closeout or has to continue to move off the ball when the first play doesn't develop? Like, to me, that just seems to make more sense. And you're not betting on that Shamet or Johnson, who's not necessarily used to that spot. Maybe Johnson has graduated past that, but especially just seeing it the past two games of Shamet, it's like you're putting a lot of faith in him to make shots that he's just not used to being called upon to make. And it's been okay. The Suns did not lose that game on Sunday just because of Landry Shamet. There's a lot of things that go into that game. It's a bad matchup, etc. And then this game they won, so you can't complain too much, but it's just strange to not see these moments during this stretch without Paul and without Shamet or without Booker not be used to develop the reps, the confidence, the skill set of the two next best guys on this team, the two next pieces of this core. So just a strange kind of subplot here. And a big part of Ayton's game tonight to me was looking at it late and not seeing him get those opportunities to be part of the action quite as much. So we'll see if that continues. But obviously, when you have a trustworthy floor general like Landry Shamet and a sharpshooter, a just explosive, all of a sudden, sharpshooter in Landry Shamet, makes it a little bit easier to bypass those star players. So we'll talk about those two in just a second. First, though, guys, today's show, again, brought to you by PrizePicks, the top daily fantasy option in the NBA, because they have turned the entire thing inside out, made it a ton more fun, made it a ton more simple, frankly, and cut out the cheaters. That's why we love it at the Locked On Podcast Network. Fun, no cheating. What more could you ask for? We know you guys will love it too. Here's how it works. You pick 2 to 5 players and an over or an under on their projections, and you can win up to 10 times your bid on any entry, and it's just you versus the projections. So no pool, no head-to-head opponent, just you versus those projections. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less, and they offer any prop you can think of, from points scored to rebounds, even steals. They also, PrizePicks allows mixed sport entries. So maybe you are feeling a little bit of hometown spirit and you want to go the over on total goals for Austin Matthews in the rest of the season. I don't know if there's a pick for that, but look, Austin Matthews is a ton of fun to watch. He's a Scottsdale kid, so I'm going to go for it in the NHL. And then you go, of course, with Devin Booker potentially scheduled to return on Wednesday or not too long thereafter, you go over on Devin Booker points. You're projecting he's going to make an explosive return. And just like that, you have your lineup set. You watch both of those guys hit the over, you win. So that's how simple, that's how fun, and that's how exclusive it can be. No cheating. No people who fill out the pool and they just sit there and watch the money roll in because they have 1,500 entries and they know one of them is going to hit. No, it's just you. It's just you versus yourself, basically, versus those over-unders. For a limited time, PrizePicks has an exclusive no-brainer of an offer for all of our Locked On listeners. You will get $50 free if a player in your first PrizePicks entry scores a single point, which of course they will, but you must use the code NBA. That's right, an exclusive offer for Locked On listeners who sign up today using the promo code NBA for $50 free when your player in your first PrizePicks entry scores a single point. PrizePicks, daily fantasy made easy. All right, so it's been too long of me not diving quite enough into Cameron Payne, but it's a perfect day as well to talk about the synergy, the development of this new starting backcourt, this momentary starting backcourt. So to start with Payne, 12 assists, just 1 turnover. He has been excellent in that category specifically with the assist to turnover ratio since coming back from his wrist injury. And he had some really good comments after the Knicks game at home that was won by the Cam Johnson buzzer beater on Friday night about how much Chris Paul has empowered him, emboldened him, encouraged him to look less at what is supposed to be happening within a set that the Suns are running, what maybe he's expecting his teammates to do on the court, and to only really in the moment be paying attention to what the defense is doing and how much that mindset change that has been just drilled into him by Chris Paul over the past year and a half has been instrumental for him. And so Payne, to me, it feels like that's all paying off. Like, it's sometimes like you read so much into what a guy happens to say on one given night, but just hearing him talk about that, it was like matching perfectly what we are all seeing, where he seems to have such a feel for what's going on in a possession and, who's going to be open, where the defense might rotate. He had an incredible pass where he ducked under the basket, drove to almost all the way under the basket before giving it up, and found Torrey Craig on a cut in this game and for an easy layup. But just the timing of that, the knowledge of knowing, like, if I just take 1 or 2 more steps than the defense is expecting me to, then that'll free up the inside and I can get an easy shot under the basket with this. 3 games since, this was the 4th game since Payne had been back. He had 32 assists to just 9 turnovers heading into tonight. So that is now 44-10. So basically 4.5 assist to turnover ratio for him since returning in those 4 games. Incredible stuff. And you just feel like he is gaining an understanding of this 0.5 offense better than even maybe he did last year. Not so much as a scorer, but as a playmaker for his teammates. And that's exactly the same thing that I would say about Landry Shamet, who tonight set a season high, what I believe must be close to a career high, in threes with 6. He was 6 of 10 from deep, 6 of 12 overall from the field, 21 points. He also had 2 assists, and the Suns were a +6 when he was out there tonight. Outscored the Magic by 6 while he was out there. So the thing that I think has flipped, and again, I'm going to be very, very patient with the Shamit breakout here because he has been so up and down really, and also is flashed this before. It is part of why I want to, kind of proceed with caution a little bit. But I do think, like Payne, and even more noticeably because there was a lot, there wasn't much further down he could have gone at one point this season in terms of just not making shots, looking lost, looking hesitant, the understanding of that offense. And I think the main thing that I kind of can visualize it with is that you're seeing Shamit when he's coming off of a screen, especially when he's getting the ball, you're seeing so many moments where in those situations, he looks like he already knows what he's about to do. And not necessarily that he's predetermining his actions and forcing shots or forcing passes that he shouldn't. It's more so he comes across the floor with momentum, just like we've seen Devin Booker do. You can tell he knows what the options are when he gets the ball, because that's the thing about a lot of the sets that Monty Williams has designed here for the Suns is when anyone finally receives a pass as like the logical endpoint of the play, they know what is going to be available to them. And it's always going to be multiple things, right? It's going to be this guy is coming off of a screen here. This guy should be open here. This person's rolling down the middle for a lob. And here's your outlet pass to reset and run another pick and roll or, bail yourself out for somebody else to score. And Shamit seems to kind of have surveyed all of that or just maybe memorized it from pure reps at this point. And he has all of that process before he ever even catches the ball. So you just see such a more decisive version of Shamit that includes taking shots, that includes the play like I just talked about in that last segment where Crowder got the three that missed late in the game. You could see Shamit receive that dribble handoff from Ayton. He comes curling around. He drives down the basket. You've seen him get lobs to Ayton on a couple of those. You've seen him dish back out to guys like Crowder on some of those. But it's just that level of self-assuredness and sort of confidence and understanding of situation that I don't think we were seeing, where a lot of the time you could see him processing like, okay, I'm open, but I also know that there's maybe some other stuff going on here, but I know I'm supposed to have this green light. Should I shoot? Should I not shoot? Where's the guy that I'm supposed to continue the possession with? And on and on. And so today you're seeing a really good balance of it where he took 10 threes. I mean, that's a ton, right? That's that's like Cam Johnson and Devin Booker territory. No one else really gets that many up. I guess tonight Crowder did at 1 of 10. That's not the type of performance you want to see, but it's obviously a depleted roster right now. So for Shamit to take that many is a good sign, but to do it also within the flow of the offense and to contribute in other ways as well, it's all just very positive. So those two guys very much taking advantage and benefiting from the absence of the normal starting all-star level backcourt, and that's very good to see. But I want to do a couple of recap segments here that we normally do. And then I want to talk a little bit about the potential return of Devin Booker because we are seeing some burbling of that here on the internet. Potential that he could fly out to Miami for one game. We'll talk about how likely that might be and what it could look like. First, though, guys, today's show also brought to you by Built Bar, the best tasting protein bar on the planet, my favorite protein bar, because you know what you're going to get. You know that it's going to be delicious. You know that it's going to be covered in chocolate. You know there's going to be a flavor for you. And you know it's going to be packed with protein and light on calories. Those are the givens with a Built Bar. And it helps you. It helps you eat right. It helps you power up before or after a workout. It helps you know that you have a healthy snack to go to rather than junk food or your favorite candy bar. These can be the delicious substitute you always needed. And besides the classic Built Bars I just described, they have also really gone all out with the Built Bar Puffs, the first ever protein-infused marshmallow. What I mean by all out is they've upped the game on the flavors. Cinnamon churro, coconut marshmallow, banana cream pie are my personal favorite, lemon cheesecake, all of them available in that puff flavor, which again, protein-infused marshmallow, but same old thing, packed with protein, light on calories, light on sugar, and delicious flavors upon delicious flavors. At Built Bar, they are all about taste. They make it delicious first, then figure out how to make it healthy. And they pull it off every single time. So go to Built.com, check it out for yourself. Use the promo code LOCK15 to get 15% off your next order. Again, that's promo code LOCK15 when you make your purchase for 15% off at Built.com. Few things to get to here before we get on the Devin Booker news. Benchmark vibe check. I want to just look at Torrey Craig, somebody that I'll probably continue to look at from here on out. Very inefficient is the thing I've been noting on almost every single show now. He was 3 of 7 tonight, 0 of 2 from 3. And on one hand, I don't necessarily know that the Suns have a better option. You are seeing Samish Wainwright minutes, but he's not taking Craig's minutes. He's really taking Cam Johnson's minutes, I guess, right now. And Elfrid Payton is not playing. The Suns are playing 9 guys, and Ish is just one of them. Might be the best way to put it. But Craig is going to continue to play, is what I'm saying. And he is going to continue to be one of the Suns' better options defensively against, a Franz Wagner type, a Chuma Okeke. When other teams have big wings to play, that's going to mean that Monty is probably going to go to Torrey Craig. And I don't see any reason against that. He did have 2 steals and 2 blocks tonight. He's been a part of successful Suns lineups. He knows where to be. He knows how this team wants to play. He brings energy, but it's going to be a very different calculus for Monty Williams if Craig does not make his shots. Last season, it never really had to be a problem. You saw by the finals that Craig wasn't playing a lot because even when he's making shots, he's just a limited offensive player. But if he's not a floor spacer, a reliable floor spacer who the opposing team actually has to respect and defend on the perimeter, you are going to run into some problems if you're Monty Williams building out lineups, because everybody on the floor in the playoffs has to be able to do everything enough to make it work. And Craig right now is just not doing much of anything on offense in terms of making shots, keeping the defense honest. So we'll see if that continues. If it does, I would think that's just more minutes for Cam Johnson, to be completely honest. We didn't really see the full 30 plus minute every single night type of thing from Johnson last year. If that's what we see from Craig, I think Johnson will be in line to take full advantage of that. And obviously Landry Shamet is here now, so there's enough wing depth to make it work. You also have Aaron Holiday in the mix, so we could see those perimeter guys just take Craig's minutes by playoff time if this continues. So that's that. Wanted to address the Devin Booker stuff because we will not obviously talk before the Heat game on Wednesday night, and it's a big one. It seems like the Heat have been mostly healthy lately. I'll check their last game, but it's a test for the Suns. They lost this team 20 without its best players. The Suns were mostly healthy. I don't know if Deandre Ayton played in that game, but everybody else did. And the Suns lost by 20 on their home floor to basically Max Strus, Duncan Robinson, and co. So it'll be interesting to see how they match up in general. But Devin Booker returning would obviously make it even more high stakes. This team is fully healthy. The Heat are. They have Lowry, Butler, Bam, all playing. Oladipo is back. Tyler Hero has just scored 31 points the other night. So the Heat are in full gear, and the Suns need to match that. They will want to win this game, especially if Booker is able to return. So from that standpoint, just sort of the Clash of the Titans aspect, the energy, the kind of hoopla around a return will be a big storyline. But other notes on Booker, of course, it's great that he's healthy, that he did not get impacted too much by having COVID. Again, I also want to reiterate, I don't know for sure that he will return tomorrow. Flex from Jersey, who, for better or worse, guys, I hate to be like critical of people, but it is just very difficult to know what will be and will not be accurate. And I hate to say that, but it's true. Just got to level with you. We're not hearing it anywhere else, so I don't want to put all my stock in that. But at the same time, Booker returning would be great. And even if he's close, it means that he was not that affected by COVID, that he's okay. We know he was vaccinated and all of that. So from a health standpoint, great to see basically the minimum number of days or just about that he would have had to be out. And so well wishes, thankful that Booker is okay. 2 times with COVID in basically 5-6 months for him. That does not sound pleasant, having had it myself. It sucks. So that's good that it did not get too bad for him. And then of course, the other part is the Suns are now, as I said, have eclipsed their win total from last year, but of course that was only a 72-game season. So they want to get further. Like I'm of the mindset that, a reasonable and, exciting goal for this season would be to break the franchise win record. So they are 13 wins away from doing that to get to 65. And there are 17 games left this season. So they need to go 13-4 to get there. Without Booker for a prolonged stretch and without Paul, they would be hard pressed to do that. Now, with Booker back and what is a relatively easy schedule the rest of the way, it's still in play. Even to tie it would be pretty incredible. No Paul is obviously going to put a wrinkle in that, but at the same time, I think it's within reach. And so Booker coming back now, as soon as he basically possibly could have, would go a long way. So if you're wondering, I've seen a lot of people with skepticism of like, is it really worth it for Booker to fly across the country, meet the Suns in Miami just for one game, and then fly back home? I understand that logic, but I also just think at the end of the day, every game matters. If you're gunning for that record, maybe it doesn't matter as much to the team, or it doesn't factor into their thinking. It probably doesn't. They've already basically locked up the 1 seed as long as they keep this pace. So I get the reasons to be hesitant, to be patient, to play things slow, but I also just feel like every little thing counts, and they've approached this season that way all year long, and I would imagine they will once again with this. So if that feels crazy to you that Booker would do all of that travel just for this one game, I hear you, but I guess don't be surprised. All right, that'll wrap us up today, guys. Be back tomorrow. We'll actually have a special post-game edition after the Heat with Aaron Edwards, our first post-game recap show with Aaron. He had some scheduling conflicts for Thursday, so we are going to go ahead and record a recap with a guest, which is not a very common occurrence. It'll be fun, and keep it right here after the buzzer of that game to get that show. Thanks for making Locked On Suns your first listen today and every day, guys. Now go make Locked On NBA your second listen to get caught up on everything you might have missed across the association.